Part 1, Station 1, Road Crash Rescue Cutter Hold. The candidate will be positioned in the holding room. The assessor will walk in and greet the candidate. Once the assessor greets the candidate, that assessor will then stay with the candidate for the entire process of the testing procedure. They will lead the candidate all the way out into the main shed outside. Once they're in the main shed outside, there'll be gloves and helmet laid out on the table. The candidate will grab hold of a helmet. They'll ensure the helmet fits them correctly. They'll adjust the back strap and also the chin strap to ensure the helmet is comfortable and will not come off during the testing period. The candidate will then select a pair of gloves that fits them. Once this is done, the candidate has the PPE required for the RCR cutter hold. They will then take a seat next to the assessor. During this time, the assessor will run through important information and give a brief overview of the assessment to come. The candidate is permitted to go over and grab hold of the tool and get a bit of a feel for the tool. The candidate will then be run through from the assessor what is required. The RCR cutter hold has a completion time of 4 minutes and 10 seconds. To be able to do this, you have to successfully complete all 3 heights and 3 evolutions of all 3 heights. That is a 20-second hold in each one of the heights. 20 seconds on the bottom, 20 seconds on the middle, and 20 seconds on the top. At the completion of the top, that is 1 evolution complete. The candidate is required to complete 3 full evolutions. At the completion of the 3rd evolution of the top height, the RCR cutter will be placed on the ground. Once the RCR cutters are placed on the ground, this timer will stop. As long as that is under 4 minutes and 10 seconds, the candidate will be deemed successful and the candidate can then move on. While attempting the RCR cutter hold, you are permitted to rest or pause or stop at any time. If you wish to change hands or rest for a prolonged period of time, the RCR tool must be placed on the ground. When placing it on the ground and changing hands, you need to ensure that you still manage your time effectively. There'll be 20 seconds for the 3 heights and 3 evolutions. That's 3 minutes of total work time, and you have 4 minutes and 10 seconds to be able to complete this. You'll not be informed by the assessor at any time as to your time for it, so you need to ensure that you manage your time effectively and do not go over your 1 minute and 10 seconds rest to ensure you're able to complete successfully the RCR cutter hold. The candidate will then pick up the tool on their own time and place the tips of the cutter inside the first hold. Once the tips of the cutter are placed inside the first hold, the 20 seconds will start for each hold, and also the 4 minutes and 10 seconds time to complete the RCR cutter hold will begin. Remembering when we're doing this, it is only the tips of the cutter that are taped in yellow that are required to go through each of the height bars at any time. Once the first level is completed, after the 20-second period, the timer will count 3, 2, 1, change. Once they say change or out, the candidate is then permitted to remove the tool if they completed that height and move on to the next height. They will then go on to the middle height. Once again, the tips of the cutter is all that is required to be able to go through to be able to start the timer. They will then hold this position once again for 20 seconds. Once the candidate has completed this, the timer will count 3, 2, 1, change or out. The candidate will remove the tool and then proceed on to the 3rd and final height up the top. Time will start once again once the tips go between the 2 height holds. The candidate is required to hold this for 20 seconds. Once the time is complete, we've counted 3, 2, 1 out or 3, 2, 1 change. The candidate can remove the tool. That is 1 evolution completed. The candidate is required to do 3 evolutions. When we're holding the tool, we only require the tips of the tool to be able to go through the height. That is all that is required. So the middle height on the RCR rig is the most difficult height to be able to hold. There are 2 ways that the hold on this level can be achieved. You can either do the top hold method by driving the tool up to level with you and then squatting down, and at the completion of the 20-second period, you're able to stand up. Once you stand up, immediately go into the 3rd and top height. This is generally a more advantageous lift if you are slightly shorter than the height of the RCR rig. The second option for holding the middle height is simply to do a lift up technique and hold the tool at waist height. When we're holding the tool, we want to ensure the tool does not rest on the body at any stage and that the tool is parallel in all holds. This means that when going into the 3rd height, you will then have to do the inverted tool technique. The general rule of thumb is if you are the same height as a rig, the overhand pull-up technique is the most common method to be able to use and will generally be the most comfortable. The candidate will hold the tool inside the height markers for the entire 20 seconds. If they remove the tool before the timer says change or out, they'll have to repeat the 20 second for that height period. At any time, the candidate is permitted to rest and place the tool down if required. So now we will demonstrate warnings and failures on the RCR cutter hold. If the tool comes in contact with either of the height markers inside a 20-second period, the candidate will be given a warning. If the tool does not come in contact with either of the height markers for the remaining period of that 20 seconds, the candidate is permitted to move on to the next height, and that warning will be negated. If the tool comes in contact with the rig at any time, as demonstrated here, you'll get a warning. If in the same 20-second time period, the candidate comes in contact with the rig again, it will be considered a fail. A candidate is permitted to come in contact with the height markers on every single height bar, so that you can get a total of 9 warnings. The candidate must keep in mind that at any time, if they are unable to complete the 20 seconds and they have already received 1 warning and they remove the tool from the height marker, when they go to restart the 20 seconds on that height marker, the 1 warning will continue and remain. The candidate can come in contact with the height markers either on the way in, on the way out, or during the 20-second hold. If the candidate's body comes in contact with the RCR rig at any stage, they'll be told to move the body away, and this will not count as a warning. When you're grasping the tool, you're required to grasp with an overhand grip on the operating handle and the D handle as shown here, and place the tool inside the height marker. The tips are all that is required to go through. If you move the knuckle all the way through, there is an increased chance that the tool will come in contact with the frame, giving you a warning. All that we require is the tips of the cutter, which is the bit that is taped on the front. If you are slightly out, the assessor will let you know you need to move slightly in. If you're in all the way through with the knuckle, the assessor will give you the tip to be able to move all the way out, so it's just the tape marking. When you're picking up the RCR cutters, we want to ensure that the tool is parallel in all planes. That is parallel across the body and also horizontally. If the tool is not parallel in any stage, you'll be corrected by the assessor. This is not a warning if you heed the advice and you follow direction. We also want to ensure that the tool stays completely off the body and that the operator has control of the tool at all times. If the tool comes in contact with the body, you'll be warned and told to remove the tool from your body. While doing the middle height or the top height, if the elbow comes in contact with the hip at any time, that is not having control of the tool and that is resting on the body, told to ensure there's separation and daylight between the elbow and also the body. While picking up the tool, if the tool comes in contact with your body or your face at any time, there's a 20 kilo tool coming in contact with the body, you've lost control, there's a safety issue for us, so you will fail. Ensure you have control of the tool at all times when picking it up and placing it down. There is 2 ways to do it. There is a drive technique where you pick it up and you drive it heavy end first, twist the tool around. Or there is a curl technique. However, when doing the curl technique, if the tail of the cutter comes in contact with the head at any stage, you have lost control of the tool and you will be failed. You need to ensure you have an overhand grip at all times on the operating handle and also the D handle, not an underhand grip as shown here.